Okay, good afternoon, Sunday afternoon. I want to talk a little bit about my own situation, DEI, and a court opinion I really didn't talk about very much for. And yeah, there's a provocative chapter of a title of a book, The Virtue of Maleness. That certainly sounds provocative. And you can hold the book up here. And let me just show you a couple of thematic pictures, and then way we'll go. There's the NIH grounds where I had therapy and was an inpatient 6 months in this building. But actually, yeah, that's the clinical center back in 1962, in the second part of 1962. There's another picture of the clinical center that I've used a lot. But let's get back and to the argument at hand. Just to recap let me bring my picture back. Just to recap what I've been talking about, uh, over the years, I have talked a lot in different mediums, mainly blogs, about issues that come from this central problem of forced intimacy, whether in dormitories or whether um, in college campuses, later on in the military, which was the don't ask, don't tell. And today it's about women's spaces, as you know. I seem to have been influential, but I haven't been known publicly for doing anything else professionally. And, because until I was in my 50s, my adult life had been lived before the internet. And I made a living as an individual contributor in mainframe information technology. I'm good old IBM and JCL and COBOL and supporting cycles that run at night. Not everything was even online. The way businesses, the way banks and insurance companies, and I actually worked for a credit reporting company, Shilton, for 6 years in Dallas. Um, and so accomplishments, they would be quantified on job resumes. But people would typically become credentialed in established professions, either through rising in business or through um, or possibly academics, in actually getting a PhD in something like math and proving things or making discoveries. Or often most people had to become hucksters to have public careers. Becoming a producer in a life insurance company and as an agent was considered by many people as a great honor. My own father was a um, manufacturer's representative for Imperial Glass, and he sort of got his own kind of recognition in the 1950s and 60s doing things that way. And that was a life that I grew up in. And so, but I didn't really get recognition through a profession that way, as I might have. I sort of lost the chance for chemistry careers, through the entire sequence of my expulsion and from William and Mary, and then what would happen later when I was working. So you could ask, well, what have I really done to help other people who might have had problems similar to mine? And it's sort of you could phrase the question about my own social credit, if you, apart from just a FICO score, but social credit in a broader sense. And this is somewhat skewed, though, because the left these days has been posing that question in terms of allyship and demanding that you support things like anti-racism, or you support marginalized groups and not question them at all in the way that you not question them at all. So for some reason that won't come up now. Go back to here. There, I got it back. Um, so a lot of times this has been the demands that have been praised in terms of what they call DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's something I talked about back in August. I didn't really talk a lot about this particular opinion from the Supreme Court in June of 2023. The students for fair admissions at Harvard and at University of North Carolina. It was um, two different cases, and I explained in more detail a lot about this with a blog post, which I'll give you the link for. Um, and so I'm just sort of going over some of the same things here. Um, I just also wanted to say that, the left is particularly intolerant of being questioned logically about, personal responsibility that people in their favored groups have not done as well as individuals as people normally are expected to. And, have to be given more leeway when it comes to crime, or have to be given given more benefits and brought up to, in numbers. And of course, the SSFA opinion was about, basically ending affirmative action once and for all, in picking people to be admitted into colleges or hiring people into work and some other things. But it doesn't really mean that you can't, that employers or particularly academic institutions couldn't still ask people as in statements and application statements what they have done for people in minorities or what they have done for other people, even outside of their family or even outside of having their own children, what they've actually been able to do for other people in need. It doesn't mean that they couldn't question it, or they couldn't even and put an emphasis on marginalized groups as they ask those questions, and particularly outside of race, all the other groups, particularly gender now. It sounds like they still could do that. Um, Now, people with limitations, I was, let's just go back and say, I was um, gender nonconforming as a boy, and I had limitations. I couldn't compete very well physically, and I tried to make it up with book smarts, and I wasn't very good with the street smarts. Um, but typically, people with limitations don't, when they don't, particularly limitations with compared to their own birth sex, sometimes they don't fare well, and it's understandable they would want to have their own identity groups and separate off and be recognized that way for legal rights. But then they will still expect other people to interact with them personally. And so this kind of, they want to have it both ways, and yet still be sheltered as part of a protected group. And that's what's going on with a lot of the cancel culture these days. And I'm still seeing YouTube videos and posts about DEI issues even long after this opinion this last summer. Although the only thing is not anymore about specifically admitting people into universities or in hiring quotas. So I don't think it's that SFFA opinion has made that much difference. Although there are articles that in law journals say that it does make a difference. Now, so I think you can expect, a candidate for something to show reasonable voluntarism and willingness to engage, even personally, those indeed who may not be as totally intact as to their own lives, and some degree of commitment, even willing to make some sacrifice and take some personal risk in doing so. So I guess I would say my own personal problem goes something like this. I was gender nonconforming as a boy. My parents stayed with me, and even given the 1961 freshman expulsion from William and Mary for labeling myself a latent homosexual. And yeah, that could be like that could be like like a some sort of gender identity, or it could be constructed that way if you wanted it to be. I guess it could be. And for because I wasn't going was basically taking myself out of having a family myself. I was an only child, and being part of the human chain of reproduction. That's a very dramatic thing to say. When I was suddenly questioned by the dean, and now I'm told that my place is to open myself up to other people who are non-conforming, not to hang around people who are the stars, but to hang around people who are like me or less competitive and try to support their group identity. And I've not been very willing to do that, so I've sort of continued function, as you might say, as a kind of lone wolf. And I think you can you can bold that term. Maybe it's a real important. They say lone wolves die too. Lone wolves disappear. Um, and so that's kind of the problem that I have. And I just wanted to make this video today to, you remind you of the SFFA opinion. I have a blog post about it. Give that reference for you, and just you know complete a video I made a week ago yesterday that where I raised some of these issues. And I haven't really been willing to join other people's groups or call people, join campaigns and ask people for money for groups or raise money or respond to people when they address me by my name and say I'm their friend if I have to donate to them because I'm in the same boat as they are. And I haven't been very willing to respond to that. And yeah, that seems to be a problem right now. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that today again. And I'll have some more issues soon about what's going on with the idea of the film and my internet presence. And there could be some more changes. But I'll be talking to you again soon about book selling and so forth. I'll be talking to you soon some more about that. And I do thank you very much for listening today.